commonly held but erroneous belief is that interviewing does not require any real preparation. The perception is that an interview is little more than two people sitting down having a conversation. As they talk, one person, the interviewer, asks questions, while the other, the applicant, answers questions. Whether or not a job offer is extended depends on just how well the applicant answers the questions. Such an impression is largely based on observations of interviews being conducted by seasoned interviewers who certainly can make employment interviews seem like an effortless conversation. It is, however, an inaccurate impression. These interviewers have actually put a great deal of work into this casual front and have completed a number of preparatory steps before meeting their applicants. The process of interview preparation begins with thorough job analysis. This includes a review of the position's responsibilities, requirements, reporting relationships, among a myriad of other job analysis issues. The important task provides necessary answers to 4 key questions. 1. Am I thoroughly familiar with the qualities being sought in an applicant? 2. Are these qualities both job-related and realistic? 3. Can I clearly communicate the duties and responsibilities of this position to applicants? And 4. Am I prepared to provide additional relevant information about the job and the organization to applicants? Here are 15 guidelines for writing great job descriptions. Number 1. Arrange duties and responsibilities in a logical, sequential order. Begin with the task requiring the greatest amount of time or carrying the greatest responsibility. 2. State separate duties clearly and concisely. This way, anyone can glance at the description and easily identify each job duty. Identify each task as essential or non-essential, a requirement of the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. 3. Avoid generalizations or ambiguous words. Use specific language that can be exact in your meaning. To illustrate, handles mail might be better understood expressed as sorts mail or distributes mail. Number 4. Don't try to list every task. Use the phrase primary duties and responsibilities include at the beginning of each job description and close with the phrase performs other related duties and responsibilities as required. 5. Include specific examples. Include specific examples of duties whenever possible. This will enable the reader to more fully understand the scope of responsibility involved. Number 6. Use non-technical language. A good job description explains the responsibility of a job in commonly known terms. 7. Indicate the frequency of occurrence of each job duty. One popular way of doing this is to have a column on the left side of the list of tasks with corresponding percentage representing the estimated amount of time devoted to each primary job responsibility, known as key result areas. Number 8. Use lists. List duties individually and concisely rather than using a narrative paragraph form. A job description's not a novel. 9. Be objective and accurate. Describe the job as it should be performed, not as you would like to see it performed. 11. Stress what the incumbent does instead of explaining a procedure used. For instance, use records appointments rather than a record of appointments must be kept. 11. Be certain that all job requirements are job-related and are in accordance with the Equal Employment Opportunity laws and regulations. This would preclude the likelihood of legal problems developing later on. 12. Eliminate excessive verbiage. Most job descriptions can be completed in a page or 2. The length of the job description does not increase the importance of the job. Number 13. Use action verbs. These words describe a specific function, such as organize. One word should stand out within a sentence as most descriptive, a word that could readily stand alone. Action words will convey to the reader a degree of responsibility. For example, compare directs with under the direction of. Try to begin each sentence with your action verb. The first word used should introduce the function that's being described. 14. Don't refer to specific people. Instead, reference titles or positions. Incumbents are likely to change positions long before the positions themselves are revamped or eliminated. And finally, number 15. Use the present tense. It reads more smoothly. Always review the applicant's completed application and/or resume prior to the interview. There are 2 main reasons for doing this. First, you will begin to become familiar with the person's credentials, background, and qualifications as they relate to the requirements and responsibilities of the job. Second, you can identify areas for discussion during the interview. Following are 9 key areas to consider when reviewing a completed application or resume. Each of these categories should be considered if relevant to the responsibilities of a particular position. 1. Scan the overall appearance of the application and resume. Is it easy to read and navigate? The handwriting on applications should be legible. Paper resumes should be printed and generally no longer than 2 pages, and electronically generated resumes should comply with stipulated requirements. The contents of application and resumes should be grammatically correct and the language easy to understand. Cover letters should demonstrate added interest on the part of the applicant. 2. Look for any blanks or omissions. This is easy with an application form. With a resume, check to see that basic information related to work and education has not been excluded. Make note of anything that's missing so you can ask the applicant about it during the face-to-face interview. Some employment application forms are frankly poorly designed, as are some electronic resume formats. This can cause applicants to inadvertently overlook certain questions and categories. Or it may be that an applicant purposefully omits certain information. If this is the case, it's up to you to find out why and determine during the interview the importance of what's missing. 3. Review the applicant's work history and make note of any gaps between jobs. If an applicant indicates that he took some time off between jobs to travel throughout Europe, make note of it, but avoid passing judgment. Fill in the gaps and don't worry about drawing conclusions after the interview process is completed. Number 4. Make note of any other inconsistencies. To illustrate, say there's an applicant with an extensive educational background who has been employed in a series of non-exempt jobs. This may be because she has degrees in a highly specialized field and cannot find suitable work, or it may be that her educational credentials are misrepresented. It's up to you to find out. 5. Make a note to ask for elaboration of duties that are not clearly described on the application or resume. Job titles may also require exploration. Some titles are not functional or descriptive and therefore fail to review their scope of responsibility. Examples of such titles include administrative assistant and vice president. Sometimes titles sound quite grand, but upon probing, you discover that they carry few substantive responsibilities. 6. Carefully review the applicant's reason for leaving previous jobs. Look for a pattern. For example, if the reason given for leaving several jobs in a row is no room for growth, it might be that the person's jobs expectations are unrealistic. While this explanation could be perfectly legitimate, it could also be a cover-up for other, less acceptable reasons. This is a key area to explore in the face-to-face interview. 7. Be objective when evaluating a person's salary requirements. In our society, it's assumed that everyone wants to make more money. While money is one of the most commonly cited reasons for changing jobs, you will undoubtedly come across applicants who are willing to take a job for a lower salary than they were previously or currently earning. The reasons for this is, as cited, vary. The message here is to not draw premature conclusions. Number 8. Consider the frequency of job changes. People voluntarily leave jobs for many reasons, including an inaccurate description of the work upon time of hire, an improper job match, personality conflicts, inadequate salary increases, limited growth opportunities, and unkept promises. Some employees, knowing that they're doing poorly, voluntarily terminate their employment just prior to a scheduled performance evaluation. Then there are instances when employees are let go for reasons unrelated to performance, like a company shuts down or organizational changes. There are also those situations where employees are involuntarily terminated for performance reasons or other conduct issues. That brings us to number 9. Review the application or resume for red flag issues. This is any information that doesn't seem to make sense or leaves you with an uneasy feeling.